You did what? Obi asked. Ireti said, it is only 2.5 million naira, my husband. And that's small compared to how much God has blessed you with. Yee? 2.5 million naira. It's more to get jewelry and fabric. I don't have that amount, but I have that and even more for business. Many years ago, lived a grasping young lady called Ireti. She wanted good life at all costs, and because of this, she paid deaf ears to poor or average guys who came away from marriage. She will borrow clothes, hairs, handbags just to look rich and intimidate people who are in the lower class. She was so lucky to be loved by a wealthy businessman called Obi. Obi was doing so well in the line of electronics and had a robust pocket. This for Ireti ticked all the boxes, and so she hid her greed and quest for material things just to secure the position of a wife. Obi, who was a busy businessman, didn't take time in understanding her. He just needed someone to call a wife because he was being pressured by family and friends and was nicknamed Marcello, what we can easily describe as a senior bachelor. He has been in at least 7 relationships with girls from different tribes, but they all came to it, get established with his money, and then complain of his R sounds and walk out of his life without looking back. So here comes Ireti, who wasn't demanding and never complained of his R sounds. In fact, he calls her Ileti instead of Ireti. And yet, Ireti loved him and was so proud of introducing him as her lover. Obi never knew Ireti was a wolf in a sheep clothing, waiting for the perfect time to explode as a time bomb. He quickly went to see her people, discussed with them, and made available all that they requested. Their wedding was so colorful with a buffet party. This added more parts to the ego of Ireti. After 2 months, she was still lying low with her plans. She said, "It is not enough to be a wife. If I start now, I will completely lose out because this man can easily throw my things out of his house. I will take it one step at a time. First things first, I have to be going to his office to observe how money flows in and out. Then second, become a signatory to his account, and finally strike." This was an ideal plan, but only requires patience and smartness, and of course, playing a good wife, she said excitedly and called her husband Maga. When her husband returned from work, she knelt down, served his food, waited for him to be through, and then cleared the table. This wasn't strange to Obi because it has been a constant practice since they got married. He thought he was married to the best of all ladies, not knowing that he had the devil's relation right under his roof. Ireti said to her husband, "Please, dear, I would like to be going to the office with you. Sitting alone doing nothing in this big house has become very boring for me, and I don't want to just be labeled a full housewife. There are things I believe I will be able to assist you with in the office." Obi said to his wife, "I have no reason whatsoever to turn down your request because you are unproblematic and you have been a good wife. And yes, my office is your office, so you can resume whenever you want." Ireti was excited. She thanked her husband for being understanding, but in her mind, she ticked the first on her plan list. The next day, she woke up so early, prepared their meals for lunch in the office, and put it in a warmer. Obi was so impressed and decided that he must do everything within his power to make Ireti a happy and a comfortable wife. Things were moving on smoothly, and Ireti soon became pregnant. Even in her pregnant state, she was still going with her husband to the office and was very active. One day, she told her husband to make her one of the signatories so she can easily have access to money as they will soon become a family of 3. Obi, who has experience with ladies in the time past, I mean not 1, not 2, not 3, but 7 before Ireti simply said, "My wife, things like this take so many years of being together before approval, and you won't be the one to tell me when it is time. I will do it myself." Ireti was so disappointed. Remember, this is the second in our already planned list. Obi, however, said, "Since you want to be having access to money, I will be paying you 150,000 naira monthly." This was supposed to be reasonable, but for a greedy and materialistic Ireti, it was nothing. And so she could no longer continue with the fake life. She brought out her real life under the canopy of pregnancy. Her husband gave her a huge amount of money for the baby's shopping, but she rejected it, saying it was too small for an Odogu's wife. Obi, as a businessman, pumped back the money into his business and ignored her. When she was 9 months gone, he personally went to the mall and did the baby shopping himself, and Ireti was surprised because she thought her husband only had an option of increasing the money. She never knew Obi would condescend so low with his status to go to shop for a baby. 9 months after, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, and she was called Ifoma. Many months had passed, and Ireti had not carried out her plans because Obi, her husband, was very careful and watchful with his money and business documents after she withdrew a huge sum with his ATM card. This made Ireti to hate her husband, but she suppressed it because her mission wasn't fulfilled yet. It was one afternoon, and one vendor called Simi came to her house with beautiful jewelries and fabrics. They were so eye-catching and giving the Odogu wife's kind of vibes, and Ireti couldn't let it go even when the total price was above 2 million naira. She asked Simi to return after 2 days, as her husband would have given her the money by then. Obi returned in the evening, ate and freshened up, and Ireti said to him, "I have a surprise for you, my dear husband. It is something you will like and appreciate for your wife, but I would like you to guess what it is." Obi, as a businessman, just guessed something relating to business. Ireti hissed and said, "Everything mustn't be business now, Oga." She brought out the jewelry and the fabric, handed it over to her husband, and asked if he likes it. Obi said they were so beautiful and lovely and would be perfect for her skin tone. Ireti smiled and said, "I knew you would like it, and that was why I asked the vendor to keep it and return after 2 days for her money." "You did what?" Obi asked. Ireti said, "It is only 2.5 million naira, my husband, and that's small compared to how much God has blessed you with." Obi smiled and said calmly to her, "My dear, I don't have 2.5 million naira for just jewelry and fabric, but I have that amount and even more for business. I thought the surprise would be your business plan, now that our daughter is growing, or what we have been able to achieve since I started paying you monthly. But here you are in debt of 2.5 million naira for jewelry and fabric. Let me advise you, return it if you can't afford it, because me, Obi, will not pay 1 kobo for it. The price of those things in your hands can import me many blenders, and I will make cool profits if I sell them. So when you are ready to do something, then we can discuss. than paying for jewelry and fabric for 2.5 million naira. You didn't even see the one of 50,000 at least. Let me even manage. But 2.5 million naira. My darling wife, it simply shows that you are an enemy to my business. He left her and retired to bed. Ireti became very angry because she can't even steal from him, and she doesn't have savings either from her monthly stipends. She thought of the shame and embarrassment she will face when Simi returns in 2 days and decided not to take anything on credit again, no matter how beautiful it looks. After 2 days, Simi returned as agreed in anticipation to receive more than 2.5 million naira, based on the fact that other Odogu's wives do some toppings whenever she drops her jewelry with them. But she was highly disappointed when Ireti said her husband has refused to pay. Ireti asked of the one of 50,000 naira, and Simi laughed out so loudly and said she sells only luxuries. Ireti was sad and wore it like a garment, and Simi felt for her and asked what she does for a living. Ireti took a deep breath and said, nothing, but her husband pays her 150,000 naira monthly. She told Simi how she was going to the office before giving birth to her daughter, just to know how money flows in and out, and also have access to good amounts of money. But that's my stingy husband secured his money even more than he saved in the bank. Simi laughed and said, I see you like good things, what Yoruba we call oju kokoro, but you don't have a means. So how do you intend to keep up with this your materialism, with this your monthly 150,000 naira your husband manages to give you? Let me even ask what your fate will be if his business collapses today. Ireti said, I have thought of all these things, and that was why I started going to his office, just so I can have my savings from the perfect plans I have laid out before this man scattered them all. Simi laughed again and said, show me an Igbo man doing very well in business. That is not wise. My dear, you see those people, they will use mommy, pet names and finish you than to remove huge amounts of money from their business. I was once like you. I will see beautiful things on women's body and we only admire it because who dash monkey banana? I was depressed until I met someone that held my hands out of poverty. And today, I travel around the world for business and vacations. It comes with a cost, but can't be compared to the good things of life you will enjoy and the high connects you will be exposed to. Ireti said, I am more than ready. I am in this marriage because I thought getting married to Obi will make me wealthy. But that man is very stingy and I'm already 1 year plus without any tangible thing to show. I thought getting married to him will grant me access to having all the things I used to borrow while single. But that man keeps frustrating all my efforts. So this is like a prayer answered, and I won't trade it for anything. All right then, get ready in 5 days' time and make sure your husband is not aware, Simi said. Trust me, he won't, Ireti said. They talked about many other things, and Simi said to her, since we are now sisters, I will dash you the jewelry and fabric just to tell you that 2.5 million naira is nothing to us that have found the way. Ireti said, this way must be a sure thing, no, and I'm ready to walk through that way just to live the kind of life I have ever yearned for. Can 5 days be here already? She asked. Don't worry, it will come, Simi said, smiling. Ireti thanked her so immensely and she left. Ireti arranged the jewelry and the fabric on the bed just for Obi to see it when he returns. Immediately, Obi entered the room and saw the jewelry and fabrics neatly arranged. As a sharp Igbo man, he knew it was a trap. He simply thought within himself that it is okay if she chooses luxuries over her establishment in life. And as long as his money isn't missing, then it is not something to talk about. Ireti was waiting for her husband to say something about the fabric and the jewelry so she can wash him down with her mouth. Again, Obi disappointed her by simply asking how her day was, ate his food, refreshing up, and then played with his daughter for a while before retiring back to bed. The agreed date came, and Simi came to pick Ireti up, this time with an old woman. Ireti was surprised because she never mentioned she wasn't coming alone. Simi introduced the woman and said she would take care of Ifoma, her daughter, till their return. Ireti didn't see anything wrong in it as long as she will eventually become a big woman, so to say. She dressed up looking so ravishingly beautiful in a blue dress. And Simi shouted at her and said, "You can see me in white. I expect that your eyes and brain work perfectly together because not everything will be said to you in this journey. Observe and do whatever you see me or any other person you will see do. Now go and change your dress to white, as that is our dress code." Ireti was not afraid. In fact, she changed her dress with great excitement. They zoomed off and soon arrived a beautiful white house, what could easily pass for a castle. Simi warned Ireti and said, "Here, you don't talk until you are asked to talk, and you don't ask questions." She held her hands and they entered right inside. When they got in, the lady seated in white apparel looking so very beautiful welcomed Ireti and promised that her story has changed completely as a result of her coming. She gave Ireti a membership form card to fill and told her that there is a price to pay, which is not a one-time payment, but in every 4 years. Ireti filled the form and immediately she felt empty, only to raise her head up to see the leader sitting pretty with her womb in her hands. The woman said, "You will no longer bear children because this now is mine." I know you'll be thinking Ireti will regret ever going there, but Africantales by Kama tribe, let me bust your bubbles. That greedy lady was very happy. She said within herself, "Thank God. From the onset, I didn't love Obi. I only loved his pockets. But Shishi, I am not seeing. So it is better I don't bear any other child from him." Right there, she was asked the kind of business she would like to venture into. She said she wants to own a very big supermarket. Her request was granted, and she was told someone will come give her the key to the supermarket within 3 days. She wanted to ask questions when she remembered that Simi had warned her already not to ask questions. She conceded. The leader asked her to carry the bowl of water on the table. She did. The leader further instructed her to wash her face 3 times with it. She did again, and the leader said, "I officially welcome you to the world of women of class. Go and subdue the earth and make me disciples." Simi held her hands and they made their way out. Ireti then asked if that was all she needed to do, and Simi said yes. Ireti was excited and asked how she would get the key, as the leader said. Simi said to her to be patient, as the leader hadn't failed before. Ireti was super excited and can't wait to show Obi the stuff she's made of. The 3rd day came. Obi was already in front of his house, about leaving for office, when a lady approached him and said, "Excuse me, sir, are you the husband of Mrs. Ireti?" Obi answered, "Yes," reluctantly, and asked if there was any problem. The lady said there is no problem, rather a great news for your wife. Obi ushered her inside and called Ireti to the parlor. And Ireti couldn't place a bell on her face, and this made Obi to stay back just to make sure his wife was safe. And the lady went ahead to say, "I am from our leader representing Simi." Immediately, Ireti knew her mission and welcomed her warmly and told her husband that he can leave, as she will explain everything to him later when he returns from work. Obi, who was already late, simply told her to be careful and put a call through if she needs him. Immediately he left. The lady handed over documents to Ireti. It was a change of ownership of a famous supermarket. Ireti was shocked and asked how possible it is to just walk in there as the new owner. The lady laughed and said, "You underestimate our leader so well. Most of the big women in town are our sisters. The big politicians come to our leader for help. She only needs to give instructions and she is obeyed. You are not the first and you will not be the last. That supermarket is now yours and nobody dares to challenge you there because she has done everything to secure it for you. And you will be amazed at the tremendous sales you will begin to record. Don't worry. Within 3 months, you will understand how this thing works." She handed over the key of the supermarket and left. Ireti was very happy without considering that nothing is free, not even in Freetown. She quickly had a bath, dressed up, and prepared her baby as well. When she got there, she opened the supermarket and met it fully stocked. When she turned back, she met people lining up to patronize her. She just sat down with her baby at the point of payment, allowed them in to pick whatever they wanted, and received payment. The workload was too much, so she quickly put up a notice of employment, and within 1 hour, she had gotten 4 good people to work with. She just said, "So this is how it feels to be a madam and touch huge amounts of money." Within 1 month, her business flourished. She became so close to Simi, who introduced her to other sisters. Obi was surprised on the magical financial status of his wife. He couldn't fathom how she started and how she arrived at her present state. He only knew that something was not right, and he decided to be extra careful with her. Suddenly, Obi's business began to go down, and he couldn't understand how and why, because he was so prudent in spending and handled all the finances in his office. It became worse that workers started resigning because he couldn't pay them as before. Meanwhile, his wife Ireti started flying outside the country for all guest trips with her sisters and won nothing but luxury. Right before his eyes, she bought houses and luxury cars. Obi said he will never beg her to resurrect his dying business, as he strongly believes something was fishy about her sudden rise. Obi decided to visit a genuine man of God for prayers. They started studying the word of God, and the pastor placed him on a 7 days prayer and fasting and asked him to only pray for his eyes to be opened. Obi obeyed all the instructions to the letter because he was almost begging to feed. On the 6th day of his fasting, he had a dream. He saw his wife putting on white with other ladies, washing their faces in a bowl of water and chanting some spiritual songs. He woke up and was scared because that dream only affirmed what he has been thinking about his wife. He quickly dressed up and went to meet the pastor, who interpreted the dream to him. The pastor said she was using his glory for business, and that's why he's struggling. Obi asked what he should do to avert the situation. The pastor said he shouldn't do anything other than prayer because he can't fight spiritual battles physically. Obi sat down and thought of his then flourishing business and how it mysteriously crashed. He said to the pastor, "Even if it means my trouser to be pulling from my waist, I will pray till God answers and restores me. The pastor said that is a good spirit, but always pray for your daughter as well. And please pay close attention to her. Obi thanked the pastor and promised to do all that he has said. Obi continued in prayers. He will wake up at night to pray, and Ireti will be surprised because this hasn't happened before since they got married. After 2 months of consistent prayers, Obi started noticing some changes in his business. This became a propelling force for him to continue because apparently prayer works. Ireti, on the other hand, started noticing some disappointments, thefts, vanishing of some items, and so many weird things, and she went back to their leader. She complained of all the negative things happening to her, and her leader said, "Your first sacrifice has been defiled by your husband on the altar of prayer. Though it is not time for another sacrifice, but it is expected to lay down a great sacrifice. If not, doom awaits you." Ireti, who was already enjoying the affluence, the money, the reference, the fame, and every other thing, wasn't ready to let go of the aforementioned at all. So she quickly asked what the sacrifice will be. The leader said to her, "I'm sorry, your precious daughter has to be on my altar of sacrifice." Ireti almost revolted, but then again she said she can easily adopt a child. After all, she never liked Obi, and now that she's wealthier than him, he doesn't deserve a child from her. She quickly said to the leader that her request was done. And the leader took a sword and pierced the image of Ifeoma that appeared when she called her twice. But surprisingly, instead of Ifeoma to die, she became stronger and more alive because her father was consistent in prayers. This became a great concern to Ireti, and she wanted to travel with her daughter. But Obi, who was now spiritually sensitive, said it won't happen. Again, Ireti asked, "So this man will never allow me to plan and execute it? I wish it was even his life our leader asked for and not my daughter's." She decided to run back to the leader to ask what she could do. She said to her that nobody had escaped her spiritual killings in the time past, that it is obvious something stronger than them is watching and preserving Ifeoma. She handed a small sword to her and said, "Kill her physically and bring her body here for me." The desperate for wealth Ireti didn't object. She took the knife and waited for the right time to strike. She started sleeping in her daughter's room just so she could have access to execute her plan. Obi intensified his prayers and would enter his daughter's room, lay hands on her, and prophesy that she won't be killed by enemy within and enemy outside. This irritated Ireti so well and broadened the hate she had for her husband. On that fateful night, Obi was tired because he made a lot of sales in his office, so he slept off and couldn't wake up to pray at night. So Ireti took the sword at about 4 a.m. and wanted to cut off Ifeoma's head. But Ifeoma shouted, "Jesus!" and the sword only cut her hand. She kept on shouting that name, Jesus, even with the blood pumping out of her hand. This woke Obi up and he rushed to the scene. Already something mysterious had happened. Ireti was nowhere to be found. Obi quickly rushed Ifeoma to the hospital and wanted to look for Ireti to retaliate when he remembered the words of the pastor. You can't fight spiritual battles physically. So Ireti had already gone to their leader with other sisters. Obi called his pastor and he laughed and said, "I know, and prayers are being raised for you and your daughter here. I want you to keep praying." When their leader sensed doom approaching, she tapped other sisters, leaving only Ireti, and they disappeared. By this time, it was already 7 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, Ireti ran mad, torn her clothes, and ran into the streets. The doctor was able to stop the bleeding, though the cut was so deep, but they were grateful to God that she didn't cut it off. She was admitted in the hospital for 6 weeks, and glory to God, it was managed so well without any infection. The doctor visited them and prayed with them with Joel 2 verse 25. And I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmerworm. He encouraged Obi to look up to God, the only one who can give him a new beginning. Obi was grateful and said, "This challenge didn't break me. It only brought me closer to God. I was only keen to my business and I never had time to communicate with my Father in heaven. But this challenge brought me back as a child to my Maker." The pastor said to him, "You are right. Many people had already taken away the God factor from their lives because they feel they don't lack anything. They have forgotten that the high, the low, and the mighty needs God, as this world we live in is a den of lions, and only God can shut them up from devouring us. I am so glad you made it out alive and with great lessons learned." "Yes, Pastor, and thanks to you too for your spiritual nurturing," Obi said and saw the pastor off. After 6 months, he was restored and became 2 times better than he was before the challenge. He kept a close relationship with God and trained his daughter in the ways of God and contentment. Ireti's madness wasn't cured, and she remained in the streets picking fruits from the waste bins. Nobody heard of the other sisters and their leaders, even up to date. The lesson from today's story is from 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 6 to 7. "But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. So be content with what God has given to you, so you don't land in a big mess." Hey, African Tales by Karma Tribe. I know you learned something again from this story. If you do, give it a thumbs up and share and kindly comment what you learned. Till I bring another story your way some other time, it's a goodbye from here and God bless you.